Welcome back, friends! Today we are taking a look at the McFarlane DC Multiverse Flash figure. So this Flash is pretty much meant to be Barry Allen, as he appears in the DC Rebirth relaunch of comics, and, this sort of gave some more details to his costume with the little bolts everywhere like that, but that's how McFarlane chose to do him. It's not quite the classic Flash, but, pretty much the standard Flash we're gonna get from this line so far. So taking a look at the head sculpt, first thing you notice is that Barry's got these sort of the pointy bits on the back of his head sculpted. Now, they're often drawn kind of long in like the comic books, but never quite so thick. I mean, they just look huge here, honestly, in proportion to his head, and I guess it's just kind of, it goes along with McFarlane's sort of extreme attitude 90s extremity kind of look. But I mean, I guess it works all right. And depending on your taste, they might look a little outlandish, a little too 90s maybe, a little too extreme. I do like how his face has a little smirk sculpted there, although, I mean, this little fold in the skin sculpted here for the smirk, it looks like it's like a misaligned part of the mask, because it's like, it lines up with the sculpted part of the mask really well, and it looks like they just like missed the paint up on that, but they didn't. It's just a weird little fold in his cheek there. Now those yellow bolts that Jim Lee added to the design of Flash's costume for Rebirth, they are sculpted in the mask part of his head here, and so are these little vertical lines, which aren't in any artwork I've seen in the Flash, so I don't know what these, not the yellow ones, but the just vertical lines that are sculpted and not painted there. I don't know what they're from exactly. That seems like an odd choice, really. In fact, there are a bunch of vertical lines sculpted all throughout the suit, on the sides here and on the arms there, and they are not in any art of the Flash as far as I can tell, at least none from like his official portraits from Rebirth, but I mean, hey, at least they look cool. Definitely adds some detail to the costume on the figure there. Now, as for the sculpt of the actual body, the musculature looks pretty good. It's it definitely looks muscly, but also subtle, like not bulging through the costume unrealistically. His neck, however, is like jutted forward, although I think on the Flash it definitely works because, his head would kind of be thrown forward for those running poses, so pretty good sculpt on the pose of the body for the neck especially. Now, those yellow bolts come back into play on the chest and everywhere else on the body, like the belt and where the gloves end, and, they're all sculpted, the yellow lines, but on the chest, these are just painted. Now, if you're going to paint these, like, I don't know why you wouldn't just paint these. Like, it seems an odd choice kind of to sculpt these ones, but paint these ones, but, whatever. And speaking of sculpted yellow, the chest emblem is embossed, but it's like a too embossed. Like, man, this sticks out really far. If you think about it, like, in proportion to, like, the actual Flash, like, this would be, like, coming off a whole inch off his chest relative to him. And, it kind of makes the yellow look, like, too thick. Like, I don't know, like, just a little too much yellow on the logo in proportion to the white for my taste. But this is definitely down to, like, artistic interpretation and personal preference, honestly. Now, as for those other yellow sculpted lines where they end at, like, the gloves, this really makes the gloves seem like separate pieces. But in the comics, I'm pretty sure they're supposed to be, like, part of the bodysuit. And same thing's sort of going on at the waist here, where, like, I always thought, like, the Flash had, like, a belt kind of thing with this little lightning bolt, or it was just, like, a belt, like, on top of the bodysuit, or it was all just part of a bodysuit design. But, Flash has a rubber diaper going on here on the figure, and the fact that the yellow lines sculpted and separate really makes it seem like, this is where, like, pants end, or I guess kind of like, rubber diaper on top of the bodysuit thing going on. Coming down to the boots, they have a bunch of sculpted little lines in them, and believe it or not, these are actually kind of accurate to the details that Flash is often drawn with the little, like, light lines, like pencil thin lines on the comic book art in the comic books, obviously, but, like, yeah, this is what they look like, kind of, like, there's just little, sometimes they're kind of random, and they often vary artist to artist, but there are pretty much lines like this in his boots, often in the Rebirth design for Flash, at least. Sides of the boots usually had, like, little lightning bolt things coming out of them in the old Flash designs. But for Rebirth, they changed it up a bit, and, like, this figure reflects that, because there are no lightning bolts, but there are little holes for lightning bolt attachments that we'll look at when we get to accessory, and they also continue on the side of the forearm there, and some on the back, kind of, which we'll look at. Overall, sculpt, definitely has some cool parts, like the added detail, with the little vertical lines and horizontal lines everywhere that are sculpted in, even if that's not totally faithful to the Rebirth look for Flash. And I think there are some odd choices, like not sculpting the yellow lines in the chest and then sculpting this too much. Like, sculpt not enough, sculpt too much. Where did these vertical lines come from? And then, like, why sculpt that when you're going to paint that? A little bit of odd choices here or there, but overall, the impression I get from the sculpt is just, like, really, really cool. Definitely looks like the Flash. I actually like this sculpt. I'd give it, like, A minus, around that range. Let's start talking about that paint, because the eyes are really, really good. Like, those are some clean decals on those blue eyes. They even got the little white spot highlight shine part on there. That looks terrific. The lips are kind of cartoony by comparison, but, you know, not bad. The chest emblem, again, I think there's too little white, too much yellow, but, I mean, personal preference thing. The bolts are painted very cleanly, although sometimes in the design, they're like all over his body, like the bodysuit, the bolts that are part of the design, like actually like all arms, legs, and whatever. But, you know, sometimes in the designs, based on the artist, there are none at all. So, you know, I guess we should be happy with the bolts that we got painted on the chest of the front here and on the top of the head there. It's really just down to artist preference, I guess. Now, biggest complaint with the paint are the knees and the elbows. Now, it might be a little difficult to discern on camera, but those elbows are a different shade of red than the rest of the arm up here, and these knees are a different shade of red than the rest of the leg down here. And, you know, when you're looking at him, total shades, it's, in person, it's a little jarring. I mean, like, very little. It's not too noticeable, not too bad. You might not even be able to tell on camera here. But, I mean, that's probably my biggest complaint, because the lips being cartoony is a stylistic choice. That's not really a complaint, and, like, the number of lightning bolts we got is not really a complaint, because sometimes he has a bunch, sometimes he has none at all. And the paint that we got for everything else is very, very clean. I'd give the paint a solid A. The paint is good on this guy. I just wish those knees matched up a little better. Now on to articulation. The Flash has a ball joint head, goes so far up, so far down. It spins all the way around. Can kind of tilt that much to the right, that much to the left. So that's pretty good side to side overall. The shoulders are in that weird double C cup, so they have butterfly joints that go vertically and horizontally. And I think this is the first time on a McFarlane figure where both of my butterfly type joints in the shoulders have not been stuck, so that is a definite plus. Then the shoulders have hinged balls that they go above 90, which is really great, and swivel all the way around, of course. Cuts at the bicep right there. Oh, this is a little sticky. It does swivel all the way about. Double elbows get great range. He can pretty much, you know, touch his face like that, which is amazing. Swivel ball wrists, which means, you know, he can get to 90 vertically or horizontally. You just have to rotate that ball first to do it. Then diaphragm joint gets some side to side, so far forward, so far back, can go all the way around. Same type of joint setup at the waist, swivels all the way around, and so far forward, so far back. Combine it with that, and he gets really far back. That's pretty impressive there. Hips are on McFarlane's C-clamp joint. He can do the splits so far, which is very impressive. Kick so far forward, and a little bit back. They swivel ever so slightly around that joint. I really wish he had fly cuts so he could, like, swivel properly, because, I mean, Flash is a runner. He should be able to put his legs in all kinds of crazy positions, you know? Anyways, though, double knees get very good range, almost kicking his butt right there. There's nothing at the boots, but he does have the double ball swivel thing at the ankle, which, you know, very good range forward and back. Can go side to side, but you gotta position that ball first, which I'm trying to do right. Hold on. Let me just hold the ball and rotate the... There we go. He can go side to side with his foot, but the ball, I mean, doesn't always want to cooperate. And then he gets a toe hinge. And if you're keeping track, that's actually 25 points of articulation, which is 3 more than McFarlane's packaging always says, because it always says they have 22 for some reason. The Flash has 25. It's excellent. He needs thigh swivels. That's about it. Flash's packaging was nothing we haven't seen before from McFarlane Toys, which has its logo up there and says got 22 points of articulation, which is not quite accurate. Up at the top there, on the side it says the Flash, and on the other side it says which Flash? The Flash from DC Rebirth. Wish they'd kind of put the specific information on both sides, especially when you got, you know, like 12 different Batmans on the shelf, right, McFarlane? Anyways, on the back, we got the cover for Flash #1, artwork by Carl Kerschel. That's it, pretty much. Let's open this guy up. And we need 3 pieces of tape for some reason. Same old blue card back in there. You gotta, you know, rip the plastic to get the card and the base out of course, as usual. And as usual, Flash has a little sock tie around his waist, and unusually, one around the knee here, which doesn't seem that secure. It looks like his knee will just slide out when I cut the first one. Let's see how that goes, though. Oh, and there's some tape down here, which, I mean, it's holding his foot in a little, but I mean, doesn't do much, honestly. And that other sock tie didn't do too much either. I mean, I was able to just, you know, slide the left leg on out. Packaging is pretty decent. I mean, it could be easier to open up, I think, but it's fine, as usual. Now for accessories, Flash of course comes with a collector card. It has that same Carl Kerschel artwork from Flash #1 we saw on the back of the package, and a little bio to let you know that this is Barry Allen on the back there, and if you want to read it, you can pause it now, but I want to throw this away because I don't really keep the collector cards, you know? Then of course he gets this stand, which, I'm never really too impressed with any of the stands because, I mean, I feel like they're a little too small for the figures. Like, you put his foot on, and then the other foot's like either right at the edge or off. And it's not often that I like these stands from McFarlane because I just think they're too small in general, and usually figures don't need them. But the Flash is a figure that definitely needs one because you want to get him into those running poses, of course. And I do appreciate that they've all been the same so far, so they'll all match. If you're building a collection, they're all just matte black with the DC logo there. Anyways, that old stand pegs into his foot just fine there and can definitely help him balance on some one-footed poses. But my big issue with it is, well, it's not so much an issue with the stand, but more with the Flash figure. Why are the peg holes in the ankle, McFarlane? Because, if the Flash is a running character, I pretty much want to pose him, like, on the tip of his foot there. So I would ideally like a peg hole, in the top part, like, really old Toy Biz Marvel Legends used to do, but unfortunately we got one back there. I mean, it could be worse, but I mean, hey, no fault of the stand, really. Just, I mean, like, that's something that could definitely be better, I guess. But it's the last accessory that is definitely the coolest, or should I say accessories, because the last one is 6 little lightning bolts. I mean, some are bigger than others. This is like pretty big. This isn't 2, this is one big old piece that actually plugs into Flash's back here. And I mean, these are just super cool. Like, they all plug into those little holes we saw earlier. This big one actually has like this little ratcheted segments for positioning, although, I don't know why you'd want to position them separately. Like, I mean, maybe like convey like he's turning or something. I don't know. But like, essentially, based on the pose, if you got Flash leaning forward, you want them to be like way back, or like he's leaning up a little bit and go up a little bit, or, going straight. They can be straight behind. And then you get 4 of these littler ones. Now, the thing with these is, it doesn't really matter which, ones you pick. I mean, you can pretty much mix and match like the more medium-sized ones and the really little ones. You can mix and match whether you want those to be like arms or the feet ones. But it also doesn't matter what you pick for left and right, because these have no bilateral symmetry. Like, they're like the exact same pieces. I mean, this is not like the left bolt and the right bolt, you know what I mean? It's the same exact piece you get. And, you can mix and match the feet and the arms up, but you cannot mix and match left and right up. There's no mistake in that. Which, I mean, could be seen as a good thing, I guess, because, you're not going to put it in upside down, because one's going to be upside down no matter what, I guess. Let me just put this guy in here. And they all peg into these holes on the arms and the boots pretty easily, and man, does Flash ever look cool. He's like, now you start to position him like he's running. You want to basically like tilt some of them down, some of them up, so they all, streak like straight behind, like he's just going too fast. And man, does that look cooler and cooler the more we play with it there. And the last lightning bolt, because you might have noticed there's only 5, and I said he comes with 6, is really meant to address that criticism I had with the stand there, because this one, you might be able to plug it in the back. I mean, let's see if they're actually interchangeable, because like you can kind of plug it in the back, but it's like way too loose to just stay there. And I initially thought, oh, it's like an alternate one for the back, but no, it is not. It is for the foot, of course, and it pegs into the ankle peg there, but it also does it in such a way that if you bend his toe forward like that, it replaces that ankle peg with one of its own. So we can get the exact kind of poses I was saying we should be able to get earlier, because that can plug in to our base instead. And then we get, really cool lightning bolt effects for Flash. I think these are some killer accessories, honestly. Let me position that so it's like, wow, I mean, man, I haven't spent this much time posing this guy, and like, that is already really cool, honestly. I mean, look at that, friends! How can you deny that is one cool-looking action figure with those bolts on there? I mean, I certainly can't, although I can complain a little bit that, like, I mean, if the Flash is going to come with a splayed-out hand and a fist, like, why not give us, like, alternate, running hands, or, like, 2 splayed hands, 2 fists, maybe? I mean, I'd love an alternate head, frankly, in a perfect world. All the figures I got from McFarlane would come with alternate unmasked heads. But, I mean, I know that's asking for a lot. I really think he should have come with alternate hands, though. Still, these lightning bolts are very cool, even if they're, not, like, symmetrical to each other, and instead just, like, carbon copies. I mean, that kind of bugs me with, like, the symmetry, because it'll never, like, match up perfectly, like, left and right, but, I'm also thankful that, I don't have to worry about that symmetry when I'm popping them in. Oh, just die on me now, Flash. What are you so depressed about? I mean, you got some really good accessories. I mean, the accessories made the base better. Your card is throwaway. But these lightning bolts are too cool for school. Now to look at the scale, friends. The Flash stands at about 7 1/8 inches tall, or 18 centimeters if you prefer a metric system. Here he is with my standard 6-inch Batman and Spider-Man, as well as the 6-inch DC Universe Classics Flash. Which, I mean, I think we got a little improvement with McFarlane here. But since he's a 7-inch figure, here he is with some 7-inch scaled figures, like Rambo and Commando, Robocop and Terminator, Alien and Predator. So do I actually recommend this Flash figure, friends? Well, heck yes, I do. I think the best part about it is that McFarlane actually took into account the fact that you're going to want to put Flash into a running pose, so they gave you some kick-ass accessories to make his running pose look super cool, and actually make the base useful for once. So that's always nice. I think the big complaints are like, I mean, hey, those lightning bolts aren't like symmetrical, and like, thigh swivels, please. Maybe better alternate hands, because I mean, the way his left hand is like splayed out, pretty much when he's in a running pose, like unless you're doing the touch the ground thing like this, like I got going on here, you're always going to want to put the right hand forward because it's like a fist, which means he's like always going to be in like pretty much one pose with right hand forward and the left leg forward, and I mean, it kind of limits your options. Like, I think a few hands would have gone a long way to improve this guy, but he's still really, really awesome just the way he is. And even if Rebirth's not your favorite look, I'd say go out and get him, because Rebirth's not my favorite look, but this is definitely an incredible Flash figure. Well, until next time, friends, peace out.